Over dinner, my mother told me, "Your twins can have cheap meals. I won't waste money on them," as she ordered truffle dishes for my sister's children. After she uninvited them from a Disney trip, my attorney exposed her theft. It started subtly, as these things often do. My mom, Elaine, has always played favorites. But it got to a point where she was doing it right in my twins' faces. I finally drew a hard line. I protected AJ and Clem, and I made damn sure she couldn't control another dollar meant for them. But believe me, she wasn't done stirring the pot. Before we get to all that, let me set the scene. This particular evening, the hostess at this fancy restaurant greeted my mom like she was royalty, full smile, direct eye contact, the works. Then her gaze flickered to my wife, Kate, and our twins, AJ and Clem, like we were some kind of unexpected overflow, an inconvenience nobody planned for. "Reservation for 7 Underwalker?" the hostess asked, looking only at my mom. Mom smiled a little too brightly. "Yes, that's correct." The hostess frowned slightly, counting heads. "I'm showing 9 people here." "Oh," Mom said, with a dismissive little laugh. "I must not have mentioned Lee's twins. Can you squeeze them in?" Squeeze them in? At a dinner she had invited us to. My blood ran cold. The hostess's smile tightened, her professional facade wavering. "Let me see what I can do." They ended up putting my sister Melissa's family in the prime corner booth. You know, the good one. And then they crammed us into a tiny, sad table, practically shoved right beside them. Close enough that Mom could easily reach across. AJ and Clem, 7 years old, were still in their soccer uniforms, grass-stained and exhausted from practice. Already, they were learning what it felt like to be an afterthought, to be less than. It broke my heart to watch it happen. "I'm Lee, I'm 34, and I work as a commercial insurance adjuster. I spend my days assessing damage, figuring out who's responsible." Funny how often that translates to my personal life, isn't it? Kate's parents, Alvin and Joan, had offered to come that night. Moral support, Alvin had said, his voice tight, like he knew exactly what was coming. I'd waved them off. Foolishly, I thought maybe this time, just this once, would be different. I was wrong. So wrong. AJ, my little goofball, is pure energy, named after his grandpa Alvin. Clem, short for Clementine, she's my sweet pea. Quieter, but twice as sharp, twice as observant. They're twins with that kind of bond where if you hurt one, you fundamentally hurt them both. My sister, Melissa, she's 36, and she's been Mom's golden child since birth. Growing up, if Melissa broke something, it was always my fault. "Lee, why weren't you watching her?" I stopped expecting fairness around the age of 12. Melissa married Daniel, the type of guy who always looks like he's about to explain why you're wrong, why he's right. They have 2 daughters, Harper, who's 11, and Sloane, 9. My mom treats them like royalty. My kids? Lucky to get a birthday text. My mom, Elaine, she's the kind of woman who can smile while stabbing you and then ask why you're bleeding. She'd throw elaborate parties for Melissa's girls, lavish weekend trips, constant bragging. But when it came to AJ and Clem, it was always, "You know, Lee, I'm on a fixed budget." The excuses were endless. The waiter, a young guy with a practiced smile, came over. That smile faltered the second he saw how cramped we were. He asked about drinks. Mom didn't even look our way. "The girls will have their usual," she announced, beaming at Harper and Sloane. "Special pasta with truffle oil, extra parmesan, lavender lemonade for both. They always get that here." The waiter nodded, flipping to a new page. Then he looked at us. "And the other children?" He glanced at his notes, then back at us, confused. "Your mother told me they already ate." Kate's head snapped up. "I never said that." The waiter looked completely bewildered. "I was told by her," he said, gesturing vaguely toward my mom, "not us." The poor kid's face went beet red. "I apologize. So, should I take their order?" "You absolutely should," I said, my voice tight. "They're hungry." Mom let out that musical, tinkling laugh she uses right before saying something utterly cruel. "Lee, honestly, they can eat when they get home. These meals are expensive." Then she did it. She pulled 2 paper napkins from her purse, you know, the cheap, fast food kind, and tossed them across the table toward my twins. They landed between AJ and Clem, a pathetic white rectangle each. "Here, sweethearts," she cooed. "You can use these." AJ stared at them, utterly confused. Clem's face, usually so expressive, went carefully, chillingly blank. Daniel, my brother-in-law, laughed loud enough that the next table looked over. "Should have planned ahead, man," he snickered. "Can't expect Grandma to feed everybody." Something cold, utterly freezing, settled in my chest. I looked at my kids, then back at Mom, then at Daniel. This was it. I turned to the twins. "What do you want?" I asked, my voice calm, but with an edge I knew Kate could hear. "Pick anything on the menu." AJ's eyes went wide. He looked at the menu, then at me, a silent question in his gaze. "Anything?" "Anything," I confirmed. He pointed to a picture, his small finger trembling slightly. "The barbecue ribs with fries." "Perfect," I said, my heart swelling with a mix of fury and fierce love. I looked at Clem. "What about you, sweet pea?" She studied the menu carefully, her little brow furrowed. "Can I get the salmon with the rice?" she asked softly. "Absolutely," I said. Then I turned to the waiter, meeting his gaze directly. Barbecue ribs with fries for him, salmon and rice for her. And listen closely, separate checks. Mine and hers. Do not combine anything. Mom's face went tight. "Lee, that's over $30 a plate." "And whatever it costs is fine," I said, looking right at her, holding her gaze. "You don't get to budget my kids after buying truffle oil for yours." The waiter, bless his heart, was trying not to smile. "I'll get that in right away, sir," he mumbled, practically fleeing. Melissa was still scrolling on her phone board. Harper and Sloane kicked their feet, oblivious, waiting for their premium meals. The differential was playing out in real time, raw and brutal. "So," Mom said, pivoting with a practiced ease that made my stomach churn, "about the trip we're planning." Kate stiffened beside me. I knew what was coming. "We're taking Harper and Sloane to Disney World in October. 3 nights. Mom's treating." I just stared at her. "You're taking your grandkids to Disney?" "A special treat for the girls," Mom said, as if it was the most normal thing in the world. "AJ and Clem are your grandkids, too," Kate said quietly, her voice barely a whisper, but firm. Mom waved her hand dismissively. "Oh, they'll go someday. But with your schedule, Lee, and the expense. You planned a family trip without telling us?" I asked, my voice dangerously calm. "It's not a family trip," she sniffed. "It's grandmother and granddaughters. I can't afford everyone." The food arrived. Elaborate plates for Harper and Sloane, pasta arranged like art. Then, ribs and salmon for AJ and Clem. The contrast was brutal, a visual manifestation of Mom's twisted favoritism. A woman at the next table, who'd been watching the whole spectacle, raised an eyebrow. She wasn't subtle about it either. "Actually," Mom said, turning to Clem with syrupy sweetness, "we were thinking Clem could come. Just for one day. Magic Kingdom, princess dress." Clem looked at AJ, then back at Mom. "What about AJ?" "Oh, honey," Melissa interjected, rolling her eyes. "It's a girls' trip. AJ wouldn't want princess stuff." AJ, who had been happily gnawing on a rib, went completely silent. He picked up a fry and just stared at it. My heart clenched. Clem shook her head, her jaw set. "If AJ isn't going, I'm not going either." Mom's smile cracked, just a little. "Don't be silly." "No, thank you," Clem said, her voice surprisingly strong for a 7-year-old, pushing her plate slightly toward AJ's. "We're twins. We do things together. See what you're teaching them?" Melissa sneered at Kate, trying to make us feel guilty for opportunities. Kate's hand tightened on her fork. "Say that again," I said to Melissa, my voice low and slow. Daniel, ever the defender of his queen, jumped in. "Come on, man. Don't be sensitive. She's just saying the boy doesn't need to tag along everywhere." "The boy has a name," I said, my voice barely audible but cutting through the restaurant's din. "AJ. Named after his grandfather. Maybe try using it." Mom's face tightened further. "So, you named him after her father. Interesting choice." "That's my son," I stated, the words like ice. "Say his name correctly or don't say it at all." Tension hung thick and suffocating in the air. The woman at the next table had stopped eating entirely, her eyes glued to our table. Daniel leaned back, a smug smirk on his face. That boy is a handful because nobody disciplines him. I felt Kate start to stand, a fire in her eyes. I put my hand on her arm, a silent command to stay. One more comment about my wife or my kids, I said, looking slowly, deliberately at each of them. Mom, Melissa, Daniel. And we leave. Mom sighed dramatically, playing the victim. Lee, you're making this into something. Melissa cut her off, her voice laced with venom. Clem is sweet when she's quiet. Try to keep her like that. That was it. I stood up. Kate was instantly on her feet beside me. AJ and Clem looked confused, but they followed our lead, standing too. Seriously? Melissa scoffed, making a scene? No scene, I said, my voice flat, devoid of emotion. Just then, Mom pulled out an envelope, like she'd been waiting for this exact moment. She slid it across the table toward Harper and Sloane. Gift cards inside, she announced. $50 each, maybe more. A little something for being such good girls. You brought gifts for some grandkids, but not all? Kate asked, her voice incredulous, a raw wound in her question. I didn't know Lee was bringing them, Mom said, gesturing dismissively at my children. You invited us. I thundered. I invited you and Kate. I assumed you'd get a sitter for something this nice. The waiter reappeared, probably hoping to defuse the bomb that was our table. Everything okay? Just the check, I said, my gaze fixed on him. Mine only. Separate. Lee, this is ridiculous. Mom's voice rose. Just put it all on Lee's card. He's handling it. No, I told the waiter, my voice firm. Separate checks. Mine has the kids' meals and 2 waters only. Nothing else. The waiter nodded quickly, his eyes wide. I'll get that printed right away. While we waited, my phone buzzed. A text from Alvin, Kate's dad. Everything okay? Joan has a bad feeling. I texted back, coming to you after ice cream, spot on 5th. The waiter returned lightning fast. I signed my receipt, carefully wrote paid only for my party at the bottom, and folded my copy into my pocket. Documentation. As we walked out, Mom called after us, her voice shrill and wounded. Lee, you're embarrassing me in front of everyone. I didn't turn around. I couldn't. Outside, in the cool night air, AJ finally asked, his little voice full of worry. Did I do something wrong? I knelt down, getting to eye level with both of them. Clem was trying so hard not to cry, her lip trembling. AJ looked utterly heartbroken. No, buddy, I said, pulling him close, wrapping my arm around both of my precious kids. You didn't do anything wrong. Neither of you did. Then why didn't Grandma order us food? AJ asked, still so confused. Because Grandma made a choice, Kate said, her voice shaky, on the verge of tears herself. And it wasn't about you. It was about her. Clem looked at me, her sharp eyes searching mine. Are we going to see her again? Too smart, this one. I don't know, sweet pea, I admitted, my voice catching. But right now, we're getting ice cream. AJ perked up instantly. Really? Really? Really, I promised. The biggest sundae they've got, with Grandma and Grandpa. They're meeting us there? Clem asked, a sliver of hope in her voice. They are, Kate confirmed, her voice strengthening. We drove to the ice cream place on 5th. Alvin and Joan's car was already in the lot. They met us at the door. Joan took one look at Kate's tear-streaked face and pulled her into a tight hug. Alvin knelt down to the twins, his face a storm of concern. Who wants to help me pick out toppings? He asked, his voice gentle. Me, AJ shouted, instantly forgetting his earlier hurt. Clem took his hand. They went inside together, a small, united front. What happened? Joan asked, her voice hushed, once the twins were out of earshot. Kate told them everything. The napkins. The Disney trip. The Clem-only invitation. The gift cards for just Harper and Sloane. Alvin's face grew darker with every detail. She handed them napkins, Joan said flatly, the disbelief clear in her voice. From her purse, I confirmed. And told the waiter they'd already eaten. Alvin shook his head, his jaw tight. We should have been there. You're here now, I said, a wave of gratitude washing over me. We went inside. got the twins those elaborate sundaes they'd been promised. AJ got chocolate sauce everywhere, a happy, sticky mess. Clem carefully constructed hers, like it was architecture. Just normal kid stuff. Alvin sat next to me while they ate. "What are you going to do?" he asked, his voice low. "I don't know yet," I admitted, "but this can't happen again." "No," he said, his gaze firm. "It can't." My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. "I hope you're happy. You embarrassed me in front of everyone." The waiter asked if everything was okay. I had to lie and say yes. "Call me tomorrow so we can discuss your behavior." I showed it to Alvin. He read it, then said one word, full of conviction. "No." "No?" I asked. "Don't call her," he instructed. "Don't engage. She's already rewriting what happened." He was right. I silenced Mom's contact and put the phone away. "Dad," Clem said, chocolate on her chin, a sweet, messy smile. "Can we come here again?" "Anytime you want, sweet pea," I told her. She smiled, small but real. When we got home that night, I sat in the twins' room while they got ready for bed. I watched AJ brush his teeth with his usual chaos, toothpaste foam flying. I watched Clem carefully arrange her stuffed animals, her little brow furrowed in concentration. "You're such a cutie," I whispered to Clem, my heart overflowing. "How did I get this lucky?" She grinned at me, a dollop of toothpaste foam still in the corner of her mouth. After they were asleep, Kate and I sat at the kitchen table. My phone kept buzzing. It was our family group text thread. I'd forgotten I was even in it. I opened it. 50 messages already. "Melissa, well, that was dramatic. Some people really know how to ruin a nice evening." I left the group. Just tapped exit and let them figure it out. Kate noticed. "Good," she murmured. My phone rang 2 days later. "Aunt Debbie." I almost didn't answer, but she's the type who'll just call until you pick up. "Lee," she said, her voice dripping with disappointment. "What were you thinking?" "Hi, Aunt Debbie," I said, trying to be polite. She ignored it completely. "Your mother is devastated. She planned that dinner to bring everyone together, and you just walked out." She handed my kids paper napkins and told them to eat at home, I stated, my voice flat. "You're exaggerating." She was trying to help. "Restaurant food is expensive." She pre-ordered $150 meals for Melissa's kids. A pause. Then, "Well, I'm sure she didn't mean it like that." "How did she mean it, Aunt Debbie?" I challenged. "Your mother raised you alone after your father passed. She deserves respect. This is how you treat her." There it was. The classic guilt trip. She told Clem she could come to Disney, but not AJ. She tried to split up my kids. Maybe she thought Clem would enjoy it more. "They're 7. They're twins. You don't split them up." Silence. Then, quietly, "You've changed, Lee. Ever since Kate, you've been distant." "Kate didn't change me," I corrected her. She helped me see clearly. "I hope your pride keeps you warm," Aunt Debbie said. "Because you're tearing this family apart." She hung up. Kate was standing in the doorway, having heard the whole thing. "Let me guess," she said, a sad smile on her face. "You're the problem." "Always," I confirmed. That night, my cousin Jenna called Kate. Melissa had been busy. She'd posted on social media, "Family doesn't always mean blood. Some people would rather play the victim than accept love. Praying for those who choose bitterness over grace." Below it, dozens of comments. And Mom had left a broken heart emoji with "Thank you, sweetheart." AJ saw it, Kate said quietly, her voice barely a whisper. He was looking over my shoulder. My stomach dropped. "No." "What did he say?" "He asked if Grandma was talking about us." I found AJ in his room, stacking blocks without his usual energy. "Hey, goofball," I said, sitting beside him on the floor. He didn't look up. "Did I make Grandma sad?" "No," I said firmly, pulling him onto my lap. "You didn't do anything wrong. Grandma's feelings are not your responsibility. You understand? You're 7. Your job is to be a kid." He was quiet for a long moment. "Then I don't want to go to her house anymore." "You don't have to," I told him, holding him tight. Later, Alvin came over. We sat on the back porch while Kate kept the twins busy inside. "You need to set boundaries," he said, his voice firm, wise. "Legal ones." "Like what?" I asked. "No contact with the twins." Update their school pickup list. Send one message, making it clear, then block everyone. That seems extreme. Is it? Alvin challenged, looking me squarely in the eye. She already tried to split them up. She's posting about you online. What's next? He was right. He was absolutely right. The next morning, I called the twins' school. I updated the authorized pickup list, removed Elaine, Melissa, and Daniel. Added Joan and Alvin. Can you make a note that if my mother shows up, she's not authorized under any circumstances? I asked Mrs. Albright, the principal. Of course, Mr. Walker. Is there a safety concern? Just a precaution, I said, trying to keep my voice even. After that, I sat down and I wrote one message. I sent it to Mom, Melissa, and Daniel. Effective immediately, no contact with AJ or Clem. No attempts to pick them up from school or activities. No gifts left at our home or their school. No posts about them on social media. Further attempts will be documented and treated as harassment. I hit send. Then I blocked all 3 numbers. Kate read it over my shoulder. Think they'll respect it, she asked. No, I said, but now we have proof we set a boundary. I was right. 3 days later, Melissa called Kate from a borrowed phone. Kate, please. Mom is heartbroken. She doesn't understand what she did wrong. Can she at least see the twins for their birthday? Kate looked at me. I shook my head. No, Kate said into the phone. Lee was clear. This is ridiculous. Melissa shrieked. She's their grandmother. Then she should have acted like it, Kate said, and hung up. She blocked that number, too. The next Wednesday afternoon, I was on a call with a client when the doorbell rang. Once, then repeatedly, insistently. Kate answered it. I heard her voice rise, sharp with alarm. Elaine, you need to leave. I ended my call and rushed to the door. Mom was standing on our porch, arms full of gift bags, mascara running down her face. Lee, please, she sobbed. I just want to talk. I don't understand what I did wrong. You need to leave, I said, my voice cold, unwavering. I'm their grandmother. I have a right. No, I said, you don't. I sent you a no-contact message. You're violating it. That's ridiculous. You can't keep me from my grandchildren. Watch me. She tried to push past me into the house. I stepped outside and closed the door firmly behind me. I brought gifts, she said, holding up the bags, trying to play on my emotions. See? I'm trying. I could see through the tissue paper. A stuffed unicorn in one bag, a toy truck in the other. You're violating a boundary I set, I repeated. Lee, please. Let's just talk about this. I'll apologize. Whatever you need. What I need is for you to leave my property. Her face changed then. The tears stopped. Her expression hardened, chillingly familiar. You're going to regret this, she said quietly, her eyes burning into mine. If you're not gone in 60 seconds, I said, pulling out my phone, I'm calling the police for trespassing. She stared at me, testing, waiting. I started dialing. She left, dropping the gift bags on the porch as she walked to her car. But before she got in, she turned back. This isn't over. I brought the bags inside. Kate looked at them, then at me. Should we give them to the twins? She asked softly. They're not from Grandma, I said. They're from someone who violated a boundary. But the kids can have them if they want. Later, the twins opened them together. Clem immediately handed AJ the truck, then said she'd share the unicorn with him. So, it's fair, she explained. I called Alvin, told him what happened. You need to document this, he said. Write down what she said. When she showed up. Everything. And if she does it again, call the police immediately. Don't warn her. Just call. You think it'll come to that? I asked. I think she's going to escalate until someone stops her, Alvin said, his voice grim. He was right. But I didn't know how right until 2 weeks later. That's when I got the call about the trust fund. It was George, my father's old lawyer. Mr. Walker, I've been trying to reach you regarding your father's trust fund. My correspondence seems to have gone unanswered. I never received anything, I said, genuinely confused. A long pause. That's concerning. You're listed as primary contact, alongside Melissa. The trust was established with instructions that all parties be kept informed. What kind of trust? My chest tightened, a knot forming in my stomach. Your father set up a fund for his grandchildren, George explained. $240,000 to be distributed equally once they turn 18, or earlier for documented educational needs. My breath hitched. And who's the trustee? Your mother, Elaine. How much has been distributed? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Another pause. Approximately $85,000 over 4 years. All to Melissa, for Harper and Sloan. And AJ and Clem? Nothing, I asked, though I already knew the answer. Nothing, correct, George confirmed. Which is why I'm calling. Your father's intent was clear that all 4 grandchildren receive equal benefit. I have concerns about the administration. What would I need to do? Document the distributions. Prove intent to favor certain beneficiaries. If there's a pattern, that's grounds for trustee removal. After I hung up, I just sat there in my office, stunned. Kate found me 20 minutes later, still in my chair, staring at nothing. What's wrong? She asked softly. My dad left a trust fund for the grandkids, I choked out. $240,000. Mom's been approving withdrawals for Melissa's kids. $85,000 so far. AJ and Clem have gotten nothing, and I was never even told it existed. Kate sat down slowly, her face pale. She stole from them. Yeah, I said, the word heavy in the air. She did. That's when I stopped playing defense and started playing offense. I took the next day off. I spread every document George sent across the kitchen table, trust formation papers, my father's will, disbursement logs. Everything dated, signed, and very clearly pointing in the same direction. Kate made coffee and sat across from me, her eyes just as determined as mine. Walk me through it, she said. Dad set this up when Harper was born, I explained, tracing lines on the documents. $240,000 meant to be split equally among all grandchildren. Mom's the trustee. She's supposed to use discretion, not favoritism. I showed her the logs. For years ago, Melissa requested $20,000 for Harper's private school. Approved. 2 years later, another $20,000 for Sloan. Then $25,000 for extracurricular development, which is when they went to that Vermont arts program. Kate blinked. $12,000 per kid. She used trust money meant for all 4 kids to send hers to summer camp. And there's more, I said, holding up another sheet. $5,000 in trustee administrative reimbursement, straight into Mom's personal account. Is that even legal? Only with real documentation, I replied, rubbing my temples. George says there's none. He's been trying to reach me for 2 years. The trust still had my old college address, and Mom conveniently updated it to hers. Convenient, Kate muttered, her voice dripping with sarcasm. I opened my laptop. I'm building a case. George mentioned a clause about removing a trustee for favoritism. I found it. If a trustee distributes more than 60% of funds to less than 50% of beneficiaries within 5 years, they can be removed. I did the math. $85,000, 100% to Melissa's kids, 0 to AJ and Clem. I can petition to have her removed, I said. Kate exhaled slowly. Will it work? I don't know, I said. But Dad made this clause really specific. He must have been paranoid about favoritism. I called Paul Martinez, the consultant who'd helped set up the trust 11 years ago. He remembered my father immediately. Tom was clear, he told me. He said he didn't want one grandchild to feel worth less than another. Can you put that in writing? I asked. Absolutely. Over the next week, I gathered everything. Disbursement records, bank statements, screenshots of Melissa bragging online about Vermont, and other expensive activities. I created a timeline tying every withdrawal to Melissa's family. I even added recent incidents, the restaurant humiliation, the Disney announcement excluding AJ, the doorstep ambush. Every pattern, every slight, every moment that showed Mom's blatant disregard for my children. Alvin and Joan came over that Sunday. What can we do? Alvin asked, his jaw set. I might need witnesses, I said, looking at them. Joan nodded, her eyes fierce. We'll testify. We've seen how she treats those babies. I met with a lawyer, Denise Park, the next week. She flipped through my binder like she already knew the ending. "This is straightforward," she said, her voice calm and professional. "The favoritism is blatant. The clause is clear. You have standing. What happens to my mother?" I asked. "If the court finds a breach of duty," Denise explained, "she's removed. A neutral trustee steps in. And depending on what the audit shows, she may owe restitution. And if she fights? Then she fights. But Lee, if she's siphoned funds, this could border on criminal." "File it," I said, my voice steady. 2 weeks later, Mom was served. I knew because Melissa left a voicemail from a borrowed phone, spitting venom. "Lee, what the hell? You sued Mom. Your own mother. Over money." She's in tears. She can barely breathe. "You're destroying this family because you're jealous. Grow up." I saved it. Evidence of harassment. That night, Mom called Kate, crying about how she'd only tried to help. Kate hung up and said, "She almost sounds sincere." "Years of practice," I replied, feeling nothing but a dull ache. The hearing was set for 6 weeks out. The court appointed Patricia Hoffman, a retired accountant, to audit everything. 2 weeks in, she called me. "Mr. Walker, the disbursements are 100% to your sister's children. No documentation for need, no justification for withholding from yours. And the trustee reimbursement is unsupported. If your mother refuses bank records, that counts against her." "You think we have a case?" I asked, a sliver of hope. "You have a very strong case." But Mom wasn't done. A letter arrived from attorney Richard Marks. Polished. Threatening. They warned they'd pursue legal fees from the trust assets, essentially draining the fund to fight me. Kate read it. "They're trying to scare you," she said. I called Denise. She snorted. "They're bluffing. If the court finds a breach, she pays, not the trust." 2 days later, Aunt Debbie arrived unannounced, wringing her hands about tearing the family apart. "Dad left that money for all his grandchildren equally," I told her, my patience thin. Mom ignored that. "Family forgives," she pleaded. "I'm done pretending everything's fine," I said. She left, saying she didn't know me anymore. Perfect. 3 days before the hearing, I got a LinkedIn message from someone I barely remembered, Lindsay Pierce, a friend of Melissa's from college. She'd overheard Mom and Melissa at brunch. Melissa joked about moving money before the audit found it. Mom mentioned routing things through her dentist for clean paperwork. I sent it to Denise. "This is huge," she said. "Get a notarized statement." Lindsay agreed without hesitation. "What they're doing to you and your kids isn't right," she told me. The night before the hearing, I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the paperwork. I thought of Aunt Debbie saying Dad would be disappointed. But then I remembered Paul's words. Tom was clear. He said he didn't want one grandchild to feel worth less than another. AJ and Clem deserved the same protection Harper and Sloan had quietly enjoyed for years. And if going to court was what it took, then I'd go. Kate found me at 2 in the morning. "Come to bed," she whispered, her voice soft. I don't want to miss anything," I said, my gaze fixed on the endless pages. "You've done everything you can," she said, sitting beside me, resting her head on my shoulder. "And if we lose, at least the twins will know we fought." The house was quiet, heavy, but strangely peaceful. "Tomorrow," I said, my voice barely audible. "Mom finally faces consequences." Kate squeezed my hand. "Tomorrow." The courthouse was all marble and echoing footsteps. Kate held my hand through security, her presence a silent anchor. Denise met us in the hallway, a reassuring nod. "Ready as I'll ever be," I told her. Mom was already inside. I saw her through the door window. She looked smaller somehow. Richard Marks, her lawyer, sat beside her in an expensive suit. Melissa wasn't there, supporting from a distance, I figured. We took our seats. The bailiff called order. The judge entered, a woman in her 50s with sharp, piercing eyes. "We're here regarding Petition 472B, the Walker Family Trust." Petitioner, proceed. Denise stood. "Your Honor, we are requesting removal of Elaine Walker as trustee on grounds of breach of fiduciary duty, unequal distribution, and failure to comply with the trust's stated purpose." She walked the judge through everything. The trust documents. Paul Martinez's statement about my father's clear intent. The disbursement records showing $85,000 to Melissa's children while AJ and Clem got nothing. The suspicious trustee reimbursement. Lindsay Pierce's witness statement about Mom and Melissa discussing moving money. Additionally, Your Honor, we have testimony from witnesses who observed a pattern of favoritism. The judge looked at Mom, her gaze unwavering. Mrs. Walker, your response? Richard Marks argued good faith, educational expenses, discretion. Did she ask? The judge interrupted, her voice cutting through his spiel. Did Mrs. Walker ask Mr. Lee Walker if his children had educational needs? No, Your Honor, Marks admitted, deflating slightly. Patricia Hoffman presented her findings. 100% of disbursements to one set of beneficiaries. No documentation. Redirected mail. The judge's expression hardened further. Mrs. Walker, your son had a right to be informed about assets meant for his children. By withholding that information, you denied him the ability to advocate for them. I didn't mean to. Mom blurted out, her voice cracking. Your intentions don't change the outcome, the judge stated. Here's my ruling. Effective immediately, Elaine Walker is removed as trustee. Patricia Hoffman is appointed. All disbursements frozen until a forensic audit is completed. If the audit reveals misappropriated funds, Mrs. Walker will make restitution. The judge wasn't done. Her gaze was steely. Your job was to honor your late husband's wishes. You turned it into a tool for favoritism. That's a betrayal of trust in every sense. Mr. Marks, your client pays her own legal fees. She banged her gavel. As we left, Mom stopped us in the hallway, her face contorted. Lee, how could you do this to me? I felt nothing. Just a vast emptiness. You did this to yourself, I said, and kept walking. In the car, Kate exhaled a long, shaky breath. It's really over. For now. Alvin and Joan were waiting with the twins. Ice cream on AJ's face. Clem asking careful questions. I told her things would be fair now. That night, I slept through for the first time in weeks. 6 weeks later, Patricia Hoffman called, ahead of schedule. Mr. Walker, I've completed the forensic audit. Sending the full report to your attorney, but wanted to give you a heads up. It's worse than we thought. I sat down, a cold dread washing over me. How much worse? Total misappropriated funds come to $93,000. That includes the $85,000 to your sister's children, the $5,000 trustee reimbursement, and another $3,000 in undocumented expenses your mother claimed as trust-related. What kind of expenses? Travel to visit your sister, meals during those visits, hotel stays when she attended one of your niece's performances. All charged to the trust as beneficiary oversight costs. I felt sick to my stomach. She was using trust money to visit Melissa's family. Yes. And there's more. The dental procedure billed under your son's initials. I traced it. The check memo line read AJ Dental, like it was for your son. The dentist confirms no procedure was performed for anyone in your family, but he received payment from the trust. He deposited the check and wrote a personal check back to your mother for the same amount within 3 days. She laundered the money. The words felt heavy, ugly. That's what it looks like, Patricia said grimly. The court will decide if it rises to fraud, but it's definitely improper. I'm recommending full restitution plus penalties. After hanging up, I sat in my car in the parking lot, trying to process it all. My mom hadn't just been unfair. She'd been actively stealing. Denise filed the restitution motion that afternoon. The court set a hearing for 3 weeks out. That night, Melissa called from an unknown number. Lee, it's Melissa. I almost hung up, but something stopped me. How'd you get this number? Doesn't matter. We need to talk. No, we don't. Lee, listen. The audit is. Mom didn't do anything wrong. Those expenses were legitimate. $93,000 worth, I retorted. Silence. Then, you're really going to make her pay that back. The court is. Not me. She doesn't have that kind of money. She's on a fixed income. You're going to bankrupt her. Should have thought of that before she stole from my kids. She didn't steal. She's the trustee. She had discretion. Past tense, I said, my voice cold. Now she is nothing. You're such an a-hole. Melissa shrieked. Always have been. Always acting like you're better than everyone. I need to go. This isn't over. You think winning in court means you won? You just destroyed your relationship with your entire family. Was it worth it? I hung up, blocked the number. Kate had heard. She's panicking, she observed. Good, I said, but I knew in my gut this wasn't the end. Things escalated. Kate showed me a Facebook post, audit screenshots attached. Lee Walker's vendetta against his own mother. Comments calling me heartless. Aunt Debbie sharing it. I sent it to Denise. She filed to have it removed for violating court privacy rules, but the damage was done. That night, AJ asked why people thought I was mean to my mom. 2 days later, the school called. Mom had shown up, trying to pick up the twins. Security removed her after she caused a scene. I called Denise. You need a protective order, she said. As far as it takes. We sat the twins down that evening. Alvin and Joan were there, their presence a quiet strength. We need to talk about Grandma Elaine, I began, my voice gentle but firm. She's been making bad choices. She's not allowed to pick you up from school anymore. If you see her, tell a teacher right away. Is she in trouble? Clem asked, her small face serious. Yes, Kate confirmed. Did she do something bad? AJ asked, his eyes wide. She did, I said, taking a deep breath. She took money that was supposed to be for you. Clem processed this, then quietly, her voice barely a whisper. Did she do it because she doesn't like us? I pulled her onto my lap, hugging her close. My sweet pea, this has nothing to do with you or your brother. Grandma has problems that are hers alone. You didn't cause them, and you can't fix them. She nodded against my chest, a small, weary agreement. AJ climbed up too, snuggling in. We sat there, all four of us tangled together, a silent promise in our embrace. Later, Kate said, her voice worried, what if she shows up here again? Then I call the police, I said. Just like that. Just like that, she echoed, but I could see she was scared. So was I. Because I knew my mom. When she felt cornered, she didn't retreat. She attacked. The next few weeks were tense. I filed for a temporary protective order against Mom, using the school incident, the doorstep ambush, and every no-contact directive she'd violated. The court granted it 500 feet. No contact, direct or indirect. The restitution hearing concluded with the court ordering Mom to repay the $93,000 over 5 years. Melissa went ballistic on social media again, railing about her elderly mother being financially destroyed by her own son. I saved it. Mom violated the protective order once, calling Kate from a blocked number, crying, begging for a chance to explain. We reported it. The judge made the order permanent and gave her a stark warning. After that silence, the twins' 8th birthday came. We celebrated at home with Alvin, Joan, and a few friends from school. AJ got the biggest Lego set I could find. Clem got art supplies and a new bike. No drama. Just cake and laughter. Kate's parents had become our full-time family. Joan helped with carpools. Alvin taught AJ how to throw a football, took Clem to the hardware store to pick paint for her room. They were there. Truly, deeply there. This, Kate said one night, watching her dad and AJ play catch, this is what family's supposed to look like. I nodded, a lump in my throat. December came. The twins were in a school holiday program. We sat in the audience with Alvin and Joan while AJ and Clem performed in a chorus that was objectively terrible, but somehow absolutely perfect. Afterward, we went to Alvin and Joan's house. They'd hosted Thanksgiving, and it had become our new tradition. We were in their living room, the twins hyped on hot chocolate when Alvin said, "Lee, can I talk to you?" We stepped into his study. "What's up?" "Patricia Hoffman called," he said. "Wanted me to pass along a message. The final audit is complete. Trust has been restructured. All 4 grandkids now have equal allocations, locked accounts that can't be touched until 18 unless there's a documented emergency approved by the new trustee." That's good, I breathed. There's more. Melissa tried to petition for access to Harper and Sloane's funds. Said they needed it for school. Patricia denied it, told her previous withdrawals were excessive, and no additional funds would be released until the girls turned 18. I felt a grim satisfaction. How'd that go? About how you'd expect, Alvin said, a small smirk on his face. Melissa called Patricia everything but her name, threatened to sue. Patricia just hung up. I almost smiled. Also, Alvin said, pulling out a folder. Joan and I wanted to give you these. Inside were documents for custodial investment accounts. One for AJ, one for Clem. Both with starting balances of $15,000. Dad, you can't. I stammered, overwhelmed. We already did, Alvin said firmly, his eyes shining. Those kids are our grandchildren. We're making sure they know they matter. I didn't know what to say. I just hugged him hard. Back in the living room, Joan was helping Clem with a puzzle. AJ was showing Kate a drawing. Stick figures of our family. Me, Kate, AJ, Clem, and Alvin and Joan, clearly labeled Grandma and Grandpa. Look at this goofball, I said, pulling him close. It's perfect. Can we hang it on the fridge? Absolutely, Kate said, her eyes shining. We left around 8, driving home in comfortable silence, the twins half asleep in the back seat. You think it's really over? Kate asked. I don't know, I said. But we're okay either way. But I was wrong. 2 weeks later, everything escalated again. Alvin and Joan were hosting a small Christmas gathering. Nothing fancy, just us, Joan's sister and family, a couple of neighbors. Low-key. Alvin had set up a fire pit in the backyard. The twins were roasting marshmallows with their cousins, giggling. Kate and I were helping Joan with dessert when Alvin came through the back door. His face was tight. Lee. Situation. I followed him to the front. Through the window, I could see a car in the driveway. Mom's car. She wasn't alone. Melissa and Daniel were with her. They just pulled up, Alvin said. Tried to walk to the backyard. I stopped them at the gate. I'll handle it, I started. No, Alvin said firmly, blocking my way. This is my house. I'll handle it. You stay with Kate and the kids. But I was already heading for the door. They were at the gate to the backyard. Mom had a gift bag in each hand, a calculated look on her face. Melissa was on her phone, probably recording. Daniel stood behind them, looking bored. Lee, Mom said, spotting me. The tears started immediately. Please, it's Christmas. I just want to see my grandchildren. Give them their presents. You're not welcome here, I stated. I'm their grandmother. I have a right. You have a court order, Alvin said, stepping forward, his voice like steel. 500 feet. You're violating it right now. Mom looked at Alvin, her face twisting. This doesn't concern you. It's my house, Alvin replied, unwavering. You need to leave. I'm not leaving until I see them. Mom tried to push past him, toward the gate. Daniel and Melissa protested, but Alvin stood his ground. A patrol car arrived minutes later. The officer confirmed the protective order, told Mom she was in violation, and needed to leave immediately. Mom's victim act dropped like a stone. Her face went cold, utterly devoid of emotion. You'll regret this, she hissed at me. I already don't, I told her, my voice calm, resolute. After they left, we checked on the twins, still in the backyard, laughing over marshmallows, blissfully oblivious. They have no idea, Kate whispered, her voice full of relief. Good, I said. The next morning, Denise called. The judge wants to see your mother next week. Repeat violation. She's looking at contempt charges. The hearing was quick. The judge sentenced Mom to 15 days in jail and extended the protective order to 3 years. Melissa lost it in the courtroom. Had to be removed by security, screaming about injustice. I felt nothing watching it, just a profound sense of relief. Kate and I left without looking back. That afternoon, we took the twins to the park. AJ tried to do a cartwheel that was more falling sideways, dissolving into giggles. Clem went higher on the swings than I'd ever seen her, pumping her legs with all her might. You're such a cutie. I called to her. How did I get this lucky? She grinned, a pure, unadulterated smile, and pumped her legs harder. That night, I sat in their room, watching them sleep. AJ sprawled out, covers kicked off. Clem curled up with the stuffed unicorn she'd shared with her brother. Kate stood in the doorway. You okay? She whispered. Yeah, I said, a soft smile on my face. We're okay. The house was quiet. The kind of quiet that feels like peace instead of waiting. Just us. Just family. And somewhere out there, I knew my dad was probably smiling. What about you? Have you ever had to make such a hard choice, drawing a line with family?